It's October now, and it's time for the 20th Hot Air Sports Podcast. Can you believe that we've done 20 of these things now, Mahona?
I can't believe it's October. Is it really October? October?
It
What
really
year?
is.
What year are we in? I'm not quite sure, mate. The world is turned upside down. There's a pandemic. There's all sorts of stuff. The president's got COVID. Our team loses 7-2. What? What's going on? We're living in the twilight zone, mate. What's going to happen next?
It was a crazy weekend for sports results. I don't think any of my teams, apart from maybe Canterbury and the NPC, had a victory. And even that was Golden Point. First one in the Mitre 10 Cup. Super Rugby ever. They got up and got over Wellington, which was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, some of the crazy results over the weekend. Your North Harbour smashing Tasman.
Get in there, boy.
Last week we were saying we're going to go unbeaten in the Mitre 10 Cup. And Counties Manukau finally had a win. And yeah, we'll talk a bit more about those two crazy football results a little later on. But I'm just glad the Yankees played yesterday and not on the weekend.
Yeah, they did okay, didn't they?
Yeah, they've come out of the blocks really well in the divisional series. A good 9-3 win over Tampa yesterday. On the back of Garrett Cole, who just pitched an outstanding game, striking out 8 and only giving up 3 runs. So, game 2 today with youngster Davy Garcia on the mound and up against the Rays' Tyler Glasnow.
There's just so much American sport on at the moment, eh? There's like, the American football, there's the baseball on, there's the NBA finals. It's all going on. A couple of weeks ago was the first time that all 4 major sports had been played on the same day when the NHL was obviously on as well. So it's just crazy time. Schedules all over the place. Results, empty stadiums. Results going crazy. It's just a strange old sporting world we're living in, mate. Real strange.
It certainly is. Anyway, what did you get up to over the weekend? What did you watch on the Goggle Box?
Well, first of all, mate, obviously I watched the EPL. We'll cover that later. That was perhaps the biggest shock of the whole thing. But, of course, I watched the NRL finals, mate. There were 4 good games over the weekend. Started with Penrith playing the Roosters, and this was a crackerjack game. The Roosters out to a 14-0 lead. The Panthers then putting on 28 unanswered points and winning it with a drop goal in the last minute when the Roosters finished fast. It was an absolutely fantastic, cracking game of rugby league. That was it really did seesaw. It was an amazing thing. And Nathan Cleary, once again, just proving what a champion he is and the best number 7 in the game. He pulled out that drop goal to take him to the qualifying final. So that was absolutely fantastic for the Penrith Panthers. We obviously picked all of these results because I actually went to the TAB and put a multi on all the results we had last week. And if you had done the same, listener or watcher, you would have picked up some good money because I did. Raiders 32, Sharks 20. We picked the Raiders for this one. The Sharks didn't play too bad. Clive Churchill medalist Jack Whiten, he was the one that started in that game. And they go through to next week, grand final rematch with the Roosters. The Storm then did the business against the Eels, 36-24. The Storm fullback. Have you seen this guy, Macca? Ryan Pappenhausen. Have you seen this guy play?
No, I haven't.
My God. He is the spitting image of Billy Slater. Apparently, Billy Slater, he runs a lot like him, that forward-leaning running style. Very, very quick. Just seems to beat the first tackler every time. He's been working a lot with Billy Slater at the Storm. And my God, mate, this guy is an absolute superstar in the making. He was just incredible. He scored 3 tries, but Cameron Munster was the big news out of that one. He's injured his knee and looks like he could be out for the season. Storm 36, Eels 24. And then the final game was the Rabbits and the Knights, and the Knights are flattered to deceive. They've been on a bit of a losing streak, and the Rabbits put them to the sword. Although, once again, the Rabbits fell behind 14-0 early on in the game. They seem to do this a little bit, and then they get the kick up the arse from Wayne Bennett at halftime, and they came out and they fired, came with great comeback victory, 46-20, and that sets up with a clash against Parramatta next Saturday. So there's some good league action over the weekend, but not really any upsets, which is kind of strange. Maybe it's because there's crowds there. I don't know. It's just, it looks almost normal. almost, remember 2019? It looked almost like it was 2019 again. You know?
What's 2019?
I know. Remember those days? Yeah, so I watched a bit of that. Also watched some NBA. Game 1, the Lakers killed the Heat 116-98. Was probably went the way that we thought. Anthony Davis with 34 points. Game 2, much the same, 124-114 to the Heat. Davis again with 32 and LeBron with 33. Game 3, I watched live the other day, and what a performance by Jimmy Butler. He came out and played absolutely amazing. Triple-double, 40 points, 13 assists, 11 rebounds, and he took the Heat to win that one, 115 to 104. That was a crazy result. Everyone was picking the Lakers to sweep them. So Game 4 is on today at 2 p.m., so I'm looking forward to that. So I watched some NBA.
I haven't watched a lot of the basketball, but what I do know is that Jimmy Butler is an absolute freak of a player.
A great player.
He's incredible, that boy.
Yeah, mate, he's been shipped around to a few teams. He played for the 76ers last year, and I think before that, I can't remember who he played for before that, but he didn't quite fit any scheme or any system. And a lot of the times when he played with some of those bigger players, he seemed to be playing in the same position or stealing their thunder, or there was some sort of thing going on. But this team, he can lead. They were without 2 or 3 stars as well. They played so well. And as I say, that other game is on today. And then the other thing I watched was the EPL, but I'm going to let you lead this, mate, because the EPL, the English Premier League, ladies and gentlemen, is just impossible to pick. Although, once again, I did get lucky at the TAB with my EPL picks because, of course, I never bet on Liverpool. Never bet on Liverpool, so I've never collected or lost any money on Liverpool. But I thought that Jose Mourinho was a good go to take it to the scum, the old Manchester United scum, and they sure did that, didn't they, mate?
Didn't they? What? Interesting send-off for Anthony Martial. Gave Eric Lamela a bit of a tap on the cheek.
And it went like this, went, oh.
Yeah, like that. Eric Lamela made out he'd been punched like Mike Tyson.
He did.
Went down like the proverbial sack of. And, I mean, of course, it doesn't matter how hard you hit them. If you hit them, if you raise your hand to the face of an opponent, you're going to get sent off. So all those crying scum fans, your players just cannot raise their hands.
No. Anthony Martial should have fallen like Eric Lamela did as soon as he touched himself, and he probably would have got Lamela sent off. But, it was a bit stupid. I mean, it was just, he may as well have just clocked him. He may as well have closed his fist and just bam.
That's the whole thing with those now. If you are going to touch somebody on the face, do it properly.
Make it count, mate.
As Reg Reagan used to say, bring back the biff.
Bring back the biff. Go on, mate. So I collected $4 on that one. That was 4-1. I couldn't believe that. So I put $40 on that at 4-1. So I collected a nice little tidy sum. I also put some money on Leeds to beat Manchester City. I thought $20, 7-1 they were playing, mate. 7-1. That would have been a nice collect, but it was 1-1 at the end of 90 minutes, but it was more like a game of basketball. It was a fantastic game to watch.
It was a great game of football.
Oh, absolutely amazing game. Amazing game of football.
Who can believe Everton sitting top of the table?
My godfathers. Oh, we did give you the little heads up about their transfer business, didn't we?
We did. And we'll talk a bit more about transfer a little later on. Yes, but I did watch EPL over the weekend. Now, as you know, I don't normally watch the games live because I value my sleep far too much, and I watch when I get up in the morning. But on Monday morning, I was awake early. The puppy had woken up early, so I thought, I might just lie in bed and watch Liverpool play live. Yeah, I wished I hadn't.
The thing is, I was actually doing a few things. It was one of the few times that I wasn't watching live. And I caught a bit of the Manchester United game, went out and walked the dog, or did some stuff. And then I started getting all these text messages. I thought United was bad. What the hell's going on? I was just like, oh my gosh, this can't be as bad as what everyone's making out. So I got back and just Googled the result. Mate, what the hell happened? So tell me, you watched it live, 7-2. 7-2 against Villa. A team that survived the break by survived the drop by 1 point last year. We won the title by 18 points, and we got smacked up. Probably the worst smacking I've ever seen.
Yep. I mean, admittedly, they have made a couple of good signings over the transfer window, bringing in Ollie Watkins, the striker from Brentford, who
Yep.
was putting the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis in the Championship last year. He got a hat-trick.
Yep.
Ross Barkley signed on loan from Chelsea. I mean, he's still a very good player. And, of course, Jack Grealish is in that side as well. I would guess he would fall under the mercurial category. He can be brilliant one minute, and then you won't see him for 20 minutes. But Aston Villa, Liverpool held a high line in defence, and they got found
never
out
changed
by,
it.
yeah, got found out by very quick strikers and midfielders from Villa, and just every time they countered, they pretty much scored, and there were 3 deflected goals. Adrian was playing in place of Alisson in goal, gave them the first goal, which got them started and gave them a bit of momentum. And, they just got the bug. And Liverpool they were out there. It just looked like they were in a training session and not a very important training session. I can only imagine what Klopp said to them at half-time. He would have been absolutely firing them. But it didn't work because Villa came out and scored early in the second half, and away they went again. So, Mo Salah got a couple of great goals when he brought them back to 2-1, and everybody sort of thought, oh, yeah, here we go. Liverpool are clicking back into action, and they looked like they had for a wee while until Villa scored again. And same thing in the second half, 4-2. Thought, oh, yep, we've closed the gap to 2 again. Here we go. No, bang, 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 another 3 goals for Villa, and it was all over. I was stunned. If I'd been a bit more awake, I probably would have switched it off and not watched anymore. But I was just lay in bed there watching it, and I was so stunned. I think I was paralysed for about 20 minutes. But,
shall we try to debrief this now, or should we do this later? Because
might as well do it now while I'm.
Should we do it now? Get it out. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Joe Gomez, who has been a very, very good player up until now, he was still asleep for most of the game. Adrian,
so was Trent. Trent was awful.
Yeah, pretty much the whole back line.
Yep.
Trent and Robbo look good going forward, but
I think you can basically let's mention the guys that didn't play bad. I think that's probably easier. Robbo played okay. Yep. Mo played okay. And Jota played okay for the first half, and that was about it. The rest of them were just pants. That was as bad a Liverpool performance. That's the worst Liverpool performance I've seen since Steven Gerrard kissed goodbye to Anfield, and we lost. Was it 5-0, 6-0 to Stoke? That was terrible.
6-1. Yeah.
6-1. That was the worst Liverpool performance since then. There are a number of extenuating circumstances and a number of reasons why I think it happened. The empty stadiums, obviously, you feel like it's a training ground run. You'd think that they would have got used to that by now, but that could be part of it as an excuse. The high line, generally, if you're playing such a high line and they just keep running past you, you drop back a bit. It just seemed like they didn't adjust at all. Virgil van Dijk would normally be the one leading that. He just didn't lead it for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. The other big thing, I think, is the pressing. And this is something that Klopp said in his after-match statement. The pressing with our team starts from the front and the midfield especially, and they got on top of us. They were pressing us, and our midfield especially got overrun. We were missing. There's 2 key reasons I think that happened. One up front, Mane, we were missing him. He's the most aggressive one of our top 3 pressing. 2 in the middle, Jordan Henderson. I mean, for all the people that say he's Mr. Average, he doesn't offer much and all that sort of stuff, mate, he would have grabbed. There's no way that result would have happened with him as captain. There's just no way. He would have changed the tactics. He would have done something, but he would have been screaming and yelling and would have kicked a few guys up the arse, and it just wouldn't have happened. So there's a number of extenuating circumstances, and another thing, I think I'd rather lose a game 7-2 than lose 7 games 1-0. And I think that's the key thing here. We have to remember we've only lost 3 points. We're still near the top of the table. It's not the end of the world. It's early season. These things can happen. Even Alex Ferguson had some times where they got thrashed and they still won the league. What we have to do now is react to it, and it's going to be really interesting because obviously we've got the international break now. The players have gone away. I'll be very interested to see when Klopp gives them back for 2 days and then they play Everton. He's going to put them through hell for that 2 days, I'm sure. And when they come out against Everton, they will be ready to go. I will judge our team by that performance against Everton. I'll say that this is an anomaly, but my God, let's hope I'm right.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think also one other point there is the defence get used to playing in front of a guy like Allison, who commands that penalty area and is talking to them all the time. Thankfully, as a Brazilian, he speaks very good English, so we're lucky in that respect. And he gets that defence organised alongside Virgil van Dijk. So not having Allison there, I think, was another reason. I don't quite go along with Graham Souness, who reckons that the Aston Villa groundsman left the grass too long and it slowed down Liverpool's play. So, sorry, Graham, can't agree with you on that one.
So he's been in trouble this week as well. Have you heard about this?
Yes, yeah.
About the diving and everything, and he said, "Oh, it's a bit of a Latin American thing." And then they've come out, and the Aussie Ardelis had a crack at him and said, "Oh, you're racist." And poor old Suey's not had a good week.
Poor old Suey. Poor old Graham Souness.
He's such a grumpy bastard, though, isn't he? It's
he
amazing, actually. All those players from that Liverpool team that we absolutely love from the 70s and 80s, most of them are pretty miserable bastards, aren't they? There's a couple of guys, like John Barnes, who's a little bit different, but most of them are pretty miserable. You hear them coming at Steve Nicol, and they're just glass half empty. Maybe that's the reason they were champions, though.
Oh, exactly.
They just never rested on their laurels, did they?
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, enough of the EPL.
Enough.
I watched a bit of the NPC. I've already talked about a couple of those results over the weekend. And also the MLB playoffs started yesterday. So that was pretty exciting. The Yankees had a good win over the Rays, as I mentioned.
So they lead 1-0 down. Is it 1-0? And it's best of 5, isn't it?
Yeah, 1-0, best of 5. 5 consecutive days. So it's very difficult for the managers to rotate their pitches. You get a starter in there, you really need him to go at least 6 innings, 6 innings. Otherwise, your bullpen is just going to be absolutely shattered by, if you end up going to games 4 and 5. So, good start for the Yankees. As I mentioned, Garrett Cole went 7 innings with 8 strikeouts, and so they only had to use 6 innings he went, and with Green, Britton, and Aroldis Chapman only used the 3 relievers for an innings each. The other game yesterday, the cheating Houston Astros got up and beat the Athletics, and currently leading in the top of the 5th in game 2 in that game, 3 runs to 2. The Braves have got off to a good start in the NLDS with a 9-5 win over the Marlins. And later on this afternoon, the Yankees and Rays playing game 2. And then in Texas, the Padres will play the Dodgers a little later on. That will be a very interesting series, the near neighbours playing against each other. Just an interesting note in the playoffs in the NLDS, there's no teams from either the AL Central or the NL Central. All 5 teams got knocked out in the wildcard series. And so you've got an American League West and an American League East matchup, and a National League East and a National League West matchup.
Wow.
It's all intra-divisional series in this division series. So, very interesting.
So who's your pick then? Who's your pick to go through? First of all, who's your pick to go through from this series, and then who's going to be the World Series?
Yep, I think the Yankees are going to play the Astros in the American League Championship Series.
That'll be very interesting, Macca, won't it? There'll be a little bit of banter going on the WhatsApp, I think, then.
Yes, I think so. And I think the Atlanta Braves will be too strong for the Marlins. And the Dodgers-Padres, I think the Dodgers are going to edge that one in 5 games. So it'll be a Dodgers-Braves National League Championship Series, and Yankees-Astros, and I think from there you'll find it'll be a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, and any one of those 2 teams could win it. I'm not prepared to pick a winner on that at this stage.
And that would basically be a victory for the accountants of the sport, because they are the 2 highest paid teams in baseball. They've got the highest, the players that are paid the most. So
nice payrolls.
Mind you, the Marlins are probably the story of the playoffs so far, aren't they, mate? They weren't rated by anyone. I think they had an under 500 record going through, and they're through to this series. If they can get through this, anything could happen. And no one's been picking them all the way through.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's interesting. Also watched a bit of NFL over the weekend.
Yeah.
Watched the 49ers Eagles game on Monday afternoon. Unfortunately,
got too many injuries.
Oh. Yeah, just really struggled, and it was the Eagles' first win of the season. They lead that. They lead their division, having won only one game. And
it's a pretty piss poor division.
The AFC West, AFC East, I think.
Yeah, East. The Giants. Yeah, anyway.
The Giants, the Cowboys, the Eagles.
Yeah, they're all crap. I thought what I thought about that San Francisco game. It's just we're missing a quarterback with class. I mean, that's the thing. And also, we just couldn't. Our defense without Bosa and stuff. I mean, we just couldn't put any pressure on their quarterback, and he ran things. Did you watch the game yesterday?
No, I didn't. But good to see the Patriots lose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good when the Patriots lose. And Mahomes just proving once again he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. He was awesome yesterday.
Although in saying that, the Patriots are missing their quarterback with Cam Newton out with COVID at the moment. Yeah. And the Packers, an easy, relatively easy win over the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, Aaron Rodgers just keeps being Aaron Rodgers, doesn't he? He's just...
Absolutely.
And old Russell Wilson's still doing the damage as well for the Seahawks, mate.
He is class.
He is,
absolute class. I love watching him play. So
actually, the NFL, Mac, is one of those sports that I thought would be really affected by the lack of crowds, because the crowds, especially when they're doing their play calling, they make a real difference. Like the players can't, when they get the hometown advantage, they scream and yell when the opposition is doing. I would have thought that would make a big, big difference. It may have made a difference as far as some of the results go, but as far as the watching spectacle, they are bloody good at doing it, aren't they?
Yeah.
It looks so good on television.
And during that 49ers game, they actually, the crowd noise, they took it out. Well, I don't know whether they took it out or it just wasn't working for 5 or so minutes, because the commentators mentioned, you'll be able to hear everything going on down on the field at the moment.
Yeah.
We've lost our crowd noise for a few moments. All you can hear is us and the players. And I actually did listen a lot closer, and it was quite interesting to hear all.
It was weird.
The comments on the field. It was quite weird.
And of course, a lot of after the first couple of rounds of games, a lot of the coaches got fined for not wearing masks. Yes. I noticed they had them, which is kind of strange, because most of the time when there is no COVID, they're always covering their mouths anyway. Yeah. They're always, and then they get a mask where I would have thought it'd be perfectly reasonable. Just keep your mask on the whole time. No one can see your lips moving, but they're always pulling them off. And I mean, they've got microphones. I can't understand. Can people not hear them? I don't know. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Weird.
Anyway, let's have a look at a few other sports. We'll start off here. Both Scott Dixon and Scotty McLaughlin are set to feature in the IndyCar's finale in St. Petersburg in Florida. But after having a 100-point lead in the series, Dixon is now only 30-odd points ahead of his closest rival. Can Dixon win the series, and how will Scotty McLaughlin go?
Well, did you watch the 2 races over the weekend, Ian?
I just saw the news highlights. So
okay. I watched the first one.
Scotty Dixon had car problems with half his side plate missing.
Oh, mate, it was awful. Scotty Dixon was lucky to get in the top 10 for both of them. And, I don't know. Will Power won the second race, which made it even worse because that guy's just such a dick. I don't know. I hope so. I mean, hopefully Scotty McLaughlin can sort of run interference or something, because he needs something to happen. He does have some success at that track in St. Petersburg. It is a street track, so I'd hope so. But I mean, the Indianapolis track looked like it would have suited him, and it just didn't. So I would just hope to God. I mean, 30 points. It basically means, provided, because they get points for qualifying and stuff as well. It basically means he has to finish. Is it Joseph Newgarden? I think it's him. Who's he's leading?
Newgarden,
sorry, just behind him. I think it means he has to finish about 8 places ahead, which is about where he finished over this round.
Yeah.
So I would cross my fingers and toes and hope to everything that Scotty could do it. But the way that last round went, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'm just as interested in Scotty McLaughlin too, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting race. I'll actually make sure I have a look at that one myself. And of course, before there, Scotty McLaughlin's got the big race on the mountain to go at Mount Panorama at Bathurst. So that's in a week or a couple of weeks. So that'll be interesting as well.
Absolutely. I did see a thing on Facebook yesterday of an American racing car driver going around Bathurst in a supercar a couple of years ago. And that is bloody funny to see. He's just screaming now, "Oh, this should be illegal! Oh, we're going around this way! Oh, we're going this way! Oh!" It's just so funny. So funny. If you get a chance, check it out. American, only used to go in one way, of course.
Yeah.
It's madness. So, Bathurst is just a unique track. It's absolutely phenomenal. And it's a great day's racing. Sit your ass on the couch watching it all day. Okay, mate. That's the first 2 minutes. So I'll give you another 2 minutes on this one. Plans for a New Zealand-based Aussie Baseball League conference seem like they may have been scuppered. Can the Tuatara survive either another full season in Australia or going into hiatus for another year? Now, you're the one to ask this because you've obviously had a position in New Zealand baseball before. So tell me, mate, are the Tuatara going to survive?
Well, it's an interesting question. And, I mean, they're running on the smell of an oily rag as it is at the moment. I don't think they've had any payout from the government like the All Blacks and Warriors and all the
sports that really need it.
So, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they're talking about, the Adelaide Giants and the Brisbane Bandits both complained about having to come over to New Zealand, the expense that it was going to be for them. They obviously hold more clout at the Aussie Baseball League table. So basically, the ABL have told the Tuatara, if you want to play in this year's competition, you're going to have to come and base yourself in Australia. So, I don't really know what's going to happen. I think they were hoping that with the fact that Kiwis can now fly into New South Wales and Northern Territory of all places without having to quarantine, that it might happen going the other way. And until that happens, I don't think we're going to see the Tuatara in the ABL this year. I just can't see how they can afford to do it. In their first season, they played only 3 home series, and the rest of the time they were in Australia for the best part of a couple of months. And that just about killed the franchise financially. Luckily, they had a good season last year at North Harbour Stadium with good crowds towards the end of the season, and they were able to build the coffers up and get some good sponsors on board. But, I mean, they've got a 9-year deal with North Harbour Stadium, so I don't know how they're going to be able to get out of that without penalty. The only other thing that they've come up with is both the Texas Rangers and San Diego Padres would like to send some of their minor league players over, maybe as a team, whether they combine a few AAA players with a few AA players and a few rookies and send out a roster and play games that way. So maybe that's the way they'll get around their deal and play, a dozen or so games against 2 different opposition and have their own little competition. That's the only real way I can see in this present climate that the Tuatara are going to get me baseball over the summer.
Okay, so what I'm hoping then is that maybe, it sounds like one of the best sort of scenarios will be that they mothball the club, and that once all this shit blows over, they can start it all up again. Because, I don't know. It's a minor sport in New Zealand. It doesn't have enough money. Unless you can find a wealthy benefactor, it's really the only way it can go, which is really, really sad because the Tuatara were building up, a steady supporter base and the sport was going forward. So that is sad. Let's
follow it. So if you mothball it, it's probably going to cost just as much as competing in Australia with existing contracts in place. And, with, your merchandising, you've already signed players to contracts. That you've probably got to end up paying, and that they have to pay North Harbour Stadium whether they play there or not. So Anyway, we
Tough, mate.
will have to wait and see. And now, after many delays and negotiations, Joseph Parker and Junior Farr finally look to get it on in what promises to be the biggest domestic boxing showpiece since Tua v Cameron. Who you got?
Well, I don't know, mate. You're the fight sport expert. Hang on, I'll just reset this to 2. I think Joseph Parker will smash him. To be fair, I think this has been a bit of a mess by Junior Farr's. They've obviously been wanting a lot of money, and there's been negotiations going on for what seemed like a year. Yeah, I mean, Junior Farr, look, he looks interesting, and he looks like he could be something, but he hasn't fought anyone. He hasn't fought anyone of note.
Yeah.
And Joseph Parker has, and we've seen what he's capable of. And it may not look like when he's fighting Anthony Joshua that he's a world champion, but I just think he's a lot more experienced than Junior Farr. They'll try and talk this up. They'll try and make it, But I watched a bit of the press conference yesterday, and I don't know whether I just saw a little bit of. I don't know whether it's just the Samoan side of him, Junior Farr just looked a little bit scared to me, a little bit of fear in his eyes, I thought. And I think my money's going to be all over Joseph Parker. He'll probably get it done in the first 3 rounds. It'd be my call. That'd be me. What about you?
Well, it could be a repeat of Tua Cameron, couldn't it?
That's what I think.
Quickly.
Very similar sort of thing, where one guy's got all the thing, the other one's been based here, and I'm the up and comer. I can do this. Yeah, I don't know whether you can, mate. It's a bit like like the New Zealand National Rugby League club team thinking, they've gone unbeaten all season and they've thrashed everyone, and they think, right, we're going to take on the NRL champions. Yeah. And then it's like just a different game when you get to that level, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we'll all be watching though, won't we? We'll all be watching.
Absolutely. And I think for New Zealand boxing fans, I think there is just a tinge of disappointment that 2 boxers by the name of David Tua and the late Jimmy Thunder never actually got it on in a ring. Yeah. I think that would have been a real good fight.
Yeah, it would have been a good fight. I think David Tua was the superior boxer. I think David Tua was the I just don't know. Jimmy Thunder was past his best at that stage, and yeah, it is a bit of a shame that never happened though, because 2 Samoan boys again. But this fight, I mean, we love heavyweight boxing, man. We love heavyweight boxing. You can't not love it, and local sport needs something like this. So we'll all be watching, won't we? The New Zealand Players Association have slammed New Zealand Rugby after the national body announced their future Super Rugby plans without consultation. What the hell is going on here, mate? What the hell is going on?
I mean, the Players Association, they represent the players. So it's like a coach saying to a player, oh, we're actually playing at 2:00 this afternoon. But the player thought, no, we were playing. I thought, no, it's next week. That's an analogy that you can use. I mean, this is just ridiculous that New Zealand Rugby would do this. And a lot of people criticise Steve Chu as CEO of New Zealand Rugby.
Yep.
But I think Mark Robinson's got a lot to answer for here. Without consulting, he didn't even give Rob Nichol a phone call saying, "Oh, we've come up with this plan. We're going to announce it this afternoon." Rob Nichol sees it on the news and goes, "What the heck is going on?" You can't do that in a professional environment. No. Yeah, maybe in the amateur days you might have got away with it because you weren't paying the players apart from a $2.50 lunch allowance. You just, in the days of professional, can you imagine the Premier League coming out and saying, oh, we've decided that teams are going to have to play 4 games a week, without consulting the Players Association.
Especially because of COVID, though. You would have thought you got nothing else to do except pick up the phone and call the players. Yeah. What is this? What is this, the National Party or something, where the leaders just coming up with policies on the fly, and the rest of it sounds a bit like the National Party, doesn't it? Maybe Judith Collins could take over the New Zealand Rugby Union. Honestly, mate, it's just ridiculous. You've only got who are your stakeholders? Who are your stakeholders? You got your players, you got your fans,
Sky TV.
That's probably and your sponsors. So you got 3 men. The players Without them, there's no bloody sport. Surely they're the most important. Oh, I don't know, mate. And like you're right, Mark Robinson's had a pretty good ride of it so far. He hasn't had to do a lot because there hasn't been a lot to do because there hasn't been a lot of rugby. Here's one thing he's had to do, and he's cocked it up. So we'll be watching on and seeing whether he improves in his role.
Yes.
So you fire this one at me, mate. Go on.
Yeah. So Super Rugby Aotearoa, according to New Zealand Rugby, is set for status quo in 2021, expansion and possible Trans-Tasman comp in 2022, with mooted teams from Hawaii, a South Chinese Bay of Plenty-based consortium, and Pacific teams a possibility, but not before 2022. Thoughts?
What a bunch of arse is my thoughts. Oh, look, mate, I don't know. We just don't know what 2021 is going to bring. I mean, it's hard to make plans when you just don't know what's going to be available. As for a Hawaii-based team, I mean, that to me stinks of looking for the money because I know there's wealthy people over there looking for professional sport. With COVID...
It's the guys that tried to buy the Warriors last year.
That's right. And they've bought... okay. So, once again... I mean, with COVID, how the hell is a Hawaiian-based team going to work to start with? It's just not going to work. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, look, they're wealthy, so I think maybe they're trying to propose it to try and get the money. But that should not be, in a Chinese-led consortium. Well, that screams money too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This shouldn't be a money-making exercise. This should be, okay, we're in uncharted waters here. Let's give the fans and the players what they want for a little while. That should be what it should be all about. Instead, it looks to me like another money-grabbing thing. How can we get the money? We don't have Super Rugby. That was our big money thing.
Yep.
Now we've got to get money from somewhere else. Nah, look, sit on your reserves for a while and just do what's best for your shareholders or your stakeholders. That's my take on it. What's yours?
And I'll talk a little bit more at the end of the program about how greed has killed Super Rugby. So
there you go.
Something more to wait for.
More to say on that one. Oh, here's one for me, mate. Eden Park is set for a name change. Speaking of money grabbing, here we go. So Eden Park set for a name change to ASB Stadium or something similar. Maybe the ASB toilet. I don't know. No more Garden of Eden. Is this sad or is it just a commercial reality?
Oh, it's both. It's a commercial reality and it is sad that, it's something I've been against for a very long time. You know, when the Holy Grail of rugby, Lancaster Park, got renamed Jade Stadium and then AMI Stadium, and now the so-called temporary stadium in Christchurch is Orange Theory Stadium.
I know.
So I really, really do not like sponsors' names as stadiums. I want stadiums to be Athletic Park, Eden Park, the Wellington Stadium. You know, I want
Yankee Stadium, Twickenham. You know, they just have that name, and it creates that aura, doesn't it? You know,
I know there's a fair percentage of Americans. In fact, most American stadiums are now called, MetLife Stadium,
MetLife, or
Truist Park, or Chase Field. But you don't see Los Angeles Dodgers playing in Xerox Stadium or playing in Logical Field. There's still Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium, and long may that continue. It is a commercial reality. It is sad. You know, I would love to see it stay as Eden Park, and I'd love to see one stand be the Sir Michael Jones stand.
Absolutely.
And the
Jonah Lomu stand.
The Jonah Lomu stand, or the Mac Herawini terraces.
Now, this is a good point. Why, as far as the whole naming thing, I agree with you, commercial reality. But why don't we name? They go, go and sit in the Southwest stand. Why are we naming it the Southwest stand? There's an insurance company. Just put a name on it. Sean Fitzpatrick. They're really good at this in Australia.
Oh, absolutely.
The Trumpers, they do it all the time. Why don't we do that here? We don't. We never honour. We honour it with an occasional bronze statue out the front or something like that, which is great as well. Should be more statues. But why not name our stands? Why not name our stands the Jonah Lomu stand?
Exactly. And why don't we? I mean, you could go on, and why don't we have a proper Hall of Fame like the Americans do. I mean, I went to the New Zealand Sports Hall of Fame in Dunedin a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It looked like everybody had plonked all the memorabilia in there in 1990, and it's not been touched.
And forgotten about it.
Oh, it's so sad. I mean, I was just, I came out of there, and I thought, I wish I had $1 million to give to them so they could.
Absolutely.
And
why isn't it
set it up in Auckland?
Te Papa. And that's the perfect spot for it.
Do it properly, and
absolutely.
I mean, I've been harping on for a proper New Zealand Rugby Hall of Fame for years, and
it's crazy considering the history of this nation, considering how we always talk about we punch above our weight. Whenever the Olympics is on, we're into it. We love all our sport. We're an outdoor nation, and yet we just don't seem to want to celebrate our heroes. We just sort of let them. We just want to let them forget them, or I don't know.
We put a label on them and forget them.
Yeah, sad. Okay, mate. Football. We'll go to round ball. The All Whites' much anticipated clash with world number 1 side Belgium has been cancelled, and it looks like the clash with England may go the same way. I got a question for you, mate. This is before COVID hit. I mean, because obviously they're being cancelled because of COVID. Why don't the All Whites play more international matches, man?
Well, I guess the ultimate answer is geography. We're stuck down here in the bottom corner of the world, and it's just too expensive to bring teams to New Zealand. And Australia don't seem to want to play us that much. They've got more interesting things like the Asia Cup and World Cup qualifiers to concentrate on. We get a burst every 4 years with World Cup qualifiers against the might of Tahiti, Fiji, and Western Samoa, and that's about all we get. The only time we get any decent opposition is if we play somebody in Europe, so our fans don't get to see them. It's logistically it's easier to put the team together in London than it is in Wellington, and it is very sad. And there are many football fans around New Zealand that would love to see the All Whites playing more games. I mean, look at the crowds that we got for those World Cup qualifiers.
I know.
The Bahrain one, the Peru. But
it's once a decade, The sad thing is, my son is now 24 years old. I remember when he was about 13, 14, he was taking an interest in football. I took him up to one game up at North Harbour Stadium, and he loved it. He loved it. Might have been the Kings. The next year they went belly up or whatever it was. They moved down to Wellington. He was like, Dad, take me to another football game. I was like, okay, the All Whites are going to play. And then that game got postponed or cancelled, and they never played again. And by the time they ended up playing again, it was down in Wellington, not here. My boy had grown up. He was gone. He's forgotten about football. He's more into girls and drinking, So it's absolutely crazy. How are we going to create a culture of kids coming up that want to aspire to be All Whites? It's just they never get to see them play. Not even on television. Not even but they need to see them in the flesh.
Well, that's another bugbear of mine is that New Zealand doesn't join Australia in the Asian Conference. I mean, really, with all due respect to Samoa, New Caledonia, Vanuatu, and the likes of Fiji, look at how far Australian football's gone forward since they've been in the Asian Conference.
Absolutely.
It's just crazy. And we get to play decent sides every year in World Cup qualifiers and Asian Cup qualifiers. And the Asian Cup tournament that they had in Australia 3 or 4 years ago, that was just amazing. That was really good football to watch, and really enjoyed that. And
but the reason they want to keep us in Oceania, once again, isn't it?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Automatic qualification and all that sort of stuff, and
that's ridiculous.
But it's like we're making it easier for ourselves, but we're not doing ourselves any favors. It's as far as improving our side and giving our stakeholders a chance to see the team. It's just a sad situation. The Champions League group stages have been drawn. Who are the winners and the losers? So let's just go through the groups. Group A, Atletico Madrid, Bayern, Lokomotiv Moscow, and Red Bull. Red Bull Leipzig, I believe that is.
Salzburg.
Salzburg, is it? So that group's pretty tough. Atletico and Bayern in the same group. Group B, Mönchengladbach, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk.
That's a bit of a group of death, that one. Any one of those 4 teams could actually get through. Even Shakhtar and
That's true.
Ukraine have got a good record in Champions League in the group stage.
The next one
are no slugs.
No way. They've got Conti, haven't they? Group C, we've got Man City, Olympiacos, Marseille, and Porto. A couple of tricky ties there for Man City.
Yeah, I think you'd have to favour them in that group, and it could be any one of the other three could finish second.
And then we've got our group, Liverpool, Atalanta, Ajax, and first-time entrance in the thing, Midtjylland.
Yes, Winston Reid's old club.
Yes.
He went to West Ham from there. So Midtjylland from Sweden, Denmark, one of those.
Scandinavian country.
You'd expect Liverpool to get through, but we saw Atalanta in last season's Champions League go on to the quarterfinals. So
and Atalanta, I think, have scored. I think they've scored 14 goals in their first 3 games. So they are a goal-scoring team, very, very dangerous.
And you can never count out Ajax. In Group E, you've got Sevilla, Rennes, Krasnodar, and Chelsea. That looks like a Sevilla and Chelsea going through in that one.
Yeah, pretty easy for Chelsea in that one, isn't it?
Yep. Group F, Zenit St. Petersburg, Lazio, Dortmund, and Bruges. Yeah, Dortmund and Lazio, possibly the favourite.
I presume. Zenit, definitely. Dortmund are flying at the moment. My gosh, I don't think you can get in the team unless you're under 21.
It's a shame it's a shame Dortmund lost Jadon Sancho. Oh no, that's right.
Oh, so sad, isn't it? So sad. Oh, is he still there?
Group G, you've got Barcelona and Juventus to be the favourites above Ferencváros and Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah.
And then in Group H, we've got Başakşehir, first-time entry in from Turkey. Paris Saint-Germain, Red Bull Leipzig, and I'm not sure who that other team is. They must be here as well.
The scum. They will have it tough in that group. They've got to go to Turkey and play over there. Yeah. And Paris and RB Leipzig will not be pushovers. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
So come on the other side. Yeah, from those groups, I'm pretty happy with our group. Liverpool, I think Chelsea have done okay. Man United a bit tricky. And the group that I'm really looking forward to seeing is the Group G, Barcelona and Juventus.
Yes, that will be an interesting one, especially with all the changes that have gone on at Barcelona over the last few weeks.
And that's my next question for you.
Looks like Philippe Coutinho may be settling down and playing some decent football.
Yeah, well, he's actually allowed to play in the position he plays. So who knew he was a number 10? So going back to that, Juventus v Barcelona provides us with another matchup of the 2 top players of the last decade in football, mate. Messi versus Ronaldo again. Who's your favourite player from the 2 champions and why? Who's your favourite player?
I've always been a Lionel Messi fan. I just love the way he plays the game. He's only 3'4" and he's got the strength of an there were some goal highlights the other day at top 10 goals in La Liga over the last 10 years. And there was his goal where he beat about 5 players, pushed one guy off who was all over him like a rash trying to rugby tackle him. He just got away from him and then slotted it with his right foot, his wrong foot. So, I mean, he is just an amazing player. And, I mean, Ronaldo is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't be bothered with all the shenanigans that go on in and around it, with all his different haircuts and his goal celebrations. And, he celebrates scoring a penalty like he's scored a 30-yard worldie. It's just, there's no humility.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Messi, for me, he's the ultimate team player too. I mean, he sets up other guys just as much as he scores himself.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's just an amazing little player. Absolutely love him, except when he plays against us. And Robinson gave him the little muck up of the hair and didn't like that too much, did he? And Ronaldo, look, yes, amazing player. Yes, great goal scorer. I like the way he's reinvented himself as he's lost a bit of pace, become more of a number 9. For sure, scored lots and lots of goals, loves taking penalties to increase his goal tally. Of course, we're never going to select him over Messi because he played for United as well, If he had played for Liverpool early on, maybe we'd have a different view. But both absolutely amazing players. But Messi for me, mate, Messi for me. Yep. Matt, let's do this one. Manchester United lose 6-1 at Old Trafford to Spurs. Is it the end for the man at the wheel, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
Ole's at the wheel.
Is he? Was he?
He's now the bookies' favourite to be first to be sacked this season. And I tell you what, if United carry on like this after the international break, I think there'll be a new man in charge, and the favourite for that new man in the charge looks to be the old Spurs boss, Mauricio Pochettino, which will be a shame for us fans who have a dislike for the Old Trafford outfit. Pochettino is one of football's good buggers, and it's going to be disappointing to see him in charge at Old Trafford. So.
And Harry Kane going there to play for them as well, obviously, if that happens.
Yeah. And they made that. They signed that young forward, Edinson Cavani.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's good to see. It's good to see they're sticking with their transfer policy, isn't it? Yeah.
Young
Absolutely. English players.
Yeah. But no, Spurs looked like absolute champions, didn't they?
Amazing.
United made them look very good. And I see old Harry Redknapp's come out and said, with all these transfers that Spurs have got, they'll win the league this year. I think they'll win the league this year. It's the old Spurs.
Look, I really think that Liverpool and Man United are probably the favourites. But if they're not going to do it, Tottenham are pretty good, pretty good this year.
It's just a shame they didn't sign Nico Crenshaw, Herman arrived for the Crouchy over the on transfer.
Look, Crouchy's still a player. Can still do some things.
Anyway, talking about transfer deadline day, that was yesterday. It was interesting this year as most clubs did their big business early. A few of the notable deadline day deals. Theo Walcott goes full circle and is back to Southampton on loan from Everton.
That's a great move for him. Great move. And apparently he's taken a wage cut to do that, so good on him.
Absolutely. Yep. Got a lot of time for Theo Walcott. Always rated him as a player. Had, the injury problems.
Same here. Yep. Always had pace.
They've, as we mentioned, signed free agent Edinson Cavani, fullback Alex Tellez, and youngsters Ahmed Diallo from Atalanta. And
who's a winger?
Big name Facundo Pellistri from Uruguayan side Penarol, but as we mentioned, not Jadon Sancho.
And any defenders amongst that lot? No defenders. So, fullback, but they sold perhaps their best defender, Chris Smalling, to Roma.
Yes,
work that out.
I
mean, it's nuts.
Yes, Arsenal finally sealed a deal for defensive midfielder Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid, with Lucas Torreira going the other way.
It's an Arsenal party.
Well, when Arsenal play Leicester, it'll be a Vardy party.
Good work. Love it.
And West Ham terminated the contract of former superstar Jack Wilshere, who just couldn't shake the injury bug. Not the same as we mentioned as when Harry Redknapp was managing. And one player that is still at Arsenal is Mesut Ozil. Nobody wants him. But he is now offering to pay the wages of their mascot Gunnosaurus, who was made redundant a couple of days ago, as long as Mesut is still an Arsenal player. So, yeah.
Hang on. How much is Mesut Ozil on? About 300,000 pounds a week.
50K a week, yeah.
How much is the dinosaur paid?
Probably 50K a year.
I think he can afford to pay his wages for the year, and even if they ship him off to Siberia, who cares?
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
That's not real exactly generous from Mesut, is it? So Arsenal had a pretty good transfer roundup, didn't they?
In the end, it took them a while to get that Thomas Partey deal over the line, but they got it there in the end.
And Everton got a couple of players too.
Yeah, Everton have picked up a backup goalkeeper and a fullback from Norwich, Ben Godfrey. So they've as you mentioned last week, probably had the best of all the clubs in the transfer window. I noticed Ruben Loftus-Cheek finally managed to get out of Chelsea.
Where's he gone?
He's gone to Fulham.
That's good. Good move.
For them. They need some solidarity in the middle of the park, and they also signed a Danish defender. I can't remember his.
I think they signed two defenders. Yeah, one Jonathan or something like that. They signed a couple of defenders. They need them. My God, they were awful the other day.
Yes, and Leeds carried on their spending spree, picking up Brazilian Rafinha, who will play on the wing for them. So
he's a handy player.
It's a good signing for Leeds United. So that pretty much wraps up deadline day. I think there were a couple of deals that went through after the deadline, but nothing outstanding. The thing I didn't laugh with Manchester United was Edinson Cavani's a free agent, so they didn't actually need to do it on
No.
Day, but they wanted to be part of the game. So
the Edinson Cavani thing's interesting because apparently he wanted to go to Atletico Madrid, but they refused to pay the £5 million agent or euros agent's fee, which is his brother-in-law, I think is his agent. Manchester United were prepared to pay the agent's fees. So they paid the $5 million and got Cavani. They said last year, Manchester United, we are only interested in young English talent. That's going to be our primary goal.
They've gone and signed a 33-year-old Uruguayan.
It's nuts. Who's primarily he's a striker, but he's just a fox in the box. He's a real finisher. You're going to need service. I don't know, mate. They're just sort of throwing at a dartboard, and they need players at the back. I mean, they need defenders. I mean,
well, they've done this before, though.
I know.
You know, signing Alexis Sanchez from Arsenal, he turned out to be a real
just because they could. I know.
And Radamel Falcao about 5 years ago. You know,
that's almost a carbon copy of this one, if you ask me. You know. A hobbled guy who's unfit. Probably, you know, Cavani signed for a year with an option for another year. It'll probably take him 6 months to get fit. He hasn't played since February. Exactly. So something else I did notice to do with the EPL, though, mate, that we haven't mentioned is West Ham's great form over the last couple of weeks. West Ham 4, Wolves 0, and then Leicester 0, West Ham 3. Once again, you know, what is going on with the world? 7 goals for West Ham in 2 games against Leicester and Wolves, who are 2 of the top, you know, upper echelon teams. You know what the difference is? It's David Moyes not being there, mate. David Moyes has coronavirus, and he's been doing all the team meetings via Skype or Zoom. David Moyes, stay away. You're doing really well, mate.
I think the players and the assistant manager just put him on mute so he doesn't know and they just do their own thing.
That's probably what it is. But either way, West Ham are absolutely flying. So good on West Ham.
Anyway, moving on to the oval ball. It's the first rugby test this year, this weekend.
Is it?
All Blacks against the Wallabies at Ron Jardine Stadium. And
in October.
I'll be down at the stadium to watch the game at Tana Umaga Field. So I'm really looking forward to being there and seeing some international rugby. How do you reckon this one's going to go?
Far out. It's hard to say, isn't it, mate? Because we just haven't seen any rugby. I'm going to be more interested in the team they pick, I think. And then it'll just be so interesting to see these combinations. Maybe that's what Foster will do. Maybe he'll just go for combinations, you know. Think, shit, they haven't, you know, he should have had the team 4 months ago. Yeah, 3, you know, a long time ago. I know they've had a couple of camps and stuff, but yeah, it's just so hard to pick. I mean, we don't really know the Australian team. Do we know that yet? Has that been announced? I suppose that'll be announced in the next couple of days.
So it'll be announced tomorrow.
So it's just hard to know. I mean, remembering the last All Black result wasn't, well, actually, we won the 3rd place playoff, but, you know, the last real competitive one wasn't too flash, was it? So, yeah, man, I hope they come out of the gate with a hiss and a roar, but generally, those first tests of the year, when they are 3 or 4 months back, the All Blacks don't start fast. And they usually play against Tonga or Ireland or you know, Wales or someone like that, not Australia. So, I don't know, mate. What do you think?
It'll be interesting. I see in the Herald this morning that there's rumours that he might be picking quite a few new caps in the side. So
maybe that's a way to go too. I mean,
just have to wait and see what happens there. And interesting times ahead. As I say, I'm looking forward to being there. I think you know, the Wallabies are probably going to be in exactly the same position as us with a new coach. And
absolutely.
You know, in the squad that they've picked that have been over here now for a week or so, isolating. There's a lot of names in there that I'd never heard of before.
I know.
Yes, but going to the unknown. And the other thing to take into account is it's afternoon rugby, 3:30 in the afternoon. So
which would favour, you'd have to think would favour us. You'd have to think that.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You know, the Aussies normally play on hard and fast grounds, especially up
but they don't play the All Blacks on hard and fast grounds very often, do they, mate?
So, yeah, I'm especially the All Blacks by 8.
Okay, I'll go the All Blacks by 15.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. I could have gone by 9, but hey, I'm not that sort of guy. I'm not a Houston Astros fan.
Yeah, not that picky. So What are you going to be watching this week?
Oh, mate, that's a really good question. There'll be some international football on, no doubt, because the EPL is in hiatus because all the players have gone to the international stuff. So I'll be watching a bit of international football. I might even get a sneaky look at some of the baseball, mate. Might watch some of the baseball while that's on. I'm going to be watching the NBA finals. That's on today, 2:00, game number 4, NBA finals. Looking forward to that. And, of course, the All Blacks game. And I'm going to catch up with some more NFL as well. And that will probably be my lot. But I'll probably watch some more because that's what I do. I love watching sport. What about you, mate?
Right. I won't be too much different.
Of course, the supercars.
Yep. No supercars.
The IndyCars, of course, that too.
Yep. We'll have a look at that. MLB playoffs will be high on my watch list for the rest of the week and over the weekend. Well, depending on what NFL games are on the telly, I might watch a bit of those. And of course, I'll be at Bill Flavambati Stadium on Sunday. A big game, All Blacks versus Wallabies.
I think Bill Covered in Butter was actually originally from the Taranaki.
Oh, he played for Wellington mostly.
I think actually originally he was probably from Fiji, but Bill Covambati, haven't heard his name for a while.
Yeah. It actually popped up recently. I can't remember what it was about.
Did it?
Somebody
heaviest player to ever play rugby or something.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a ginormous unit, wasn't he?
Oh, very solid.
He was as wide as he was tall. He was like. For the listeners and watchers that don't know who we're talking about an old prop called Bill Covambati, who was a big Fijian prop in the early 90s, early to mid 90s.
Yeah, early to mid 90s. Yep. Weighed in at about
400 kgs. He was big.
He was big. He was well over 20 stone.
Enormous.
You're talking in kilos. You probably 140.
Yeah, he was an immovable object.
And boy, once he got those legs going, he was pretty hard to bring down.
He was.
Not
the glory days. And of course, they named a stadium after him. Yeah.
Yes.
And on that bombshell, Macca, I think it's time I bid you adieu.
Hang on. I've got a wee sermon first.
Oh, hang on. Stop press. Stop press. Go on. Macca's got something he wants to sort of get off his shoulders, those rather large shoulders of his. So, Macca,
quite right.
Take it away, mate. It's all yours.
Right. South Africa has voted to pull its 4 major franchises out of Super Rugby in 2021. They will instead seek to enter the Pro 14, the league made up of clubs from Scotland, Ireland, Wales and Italy. And while COVID and Super Rugby's uncertain future is the tipping point, this departure has been coming for several years. Super Rugby began in 1996, the year after the sport turned professional, and there had quite literally never been anything like it. Skill levels were off the charts, so too was the scoring. Just about every second game saw 70 to 80 points, sometimes more. At the time when England and much of the Northern Hemisphere was still sticking it up the jumper, Super Rugby moved so fast that it drew comparisons with basketball. Yes, defence sometimes took a back seat, but the scores and excitement levels were astonishing. It was known as Super 12 back then, and franchises were divided rationally. 5 from New Zealand, 5 from South Africa, 4 from South Africa, and 3 from Australia. But greed got in the way. South Africa and Australia wanted a bigger cut. So 12 became 14, and then 15 in 2011 when all 3 nations were given 5 franchises, split into 3 conferences, and we all know how that went down with the rugby public. By far the best competition in club rugby, which began with multiple franchises, as I mentioned, from New Zealand, Australia and South Africa, it has been steadily undermined by format changes and supposed improvements, all undertaken in the pursuit of money, but ultimately ruinous to the product. By 2016, the tight elite Super 12 had grown to 18, with 6 South African franchises and teams from Argentina and Japan. Yet Australia and South Africa were losing players to the Northern Hemisphere and couldn't sustain the quality of the Super Rugby brand. At one stage, Australian franchises lost 40 consecutive matches to franchises from New Zealand. Super Rugby, the brightest star on the firmament of the club game, had become boring. Attendances dwindled, TV viewers deserted. In Australia, A-League football grew bigger than domestic Super Rugby. Franchises from New Zealand have won 17 of the 24 editions. And that is how it happens. That is how even the greatest format, the blue ribbon competition, can be brought low by greed and management. And while I'm on Super Rugby, the New Zealand Herald reports that such is the passion for Moana Pacifica to play in Super Rugby next year, that the option of lifting the team from South Auckland and basing it in Australia to play there will come under consideration this week. The team is backed by legendary figures of the game, such as Sir Brian Williams and Sir Michael Jones. Moana Pacifica is reeling at being told their star-studded lineup, world-class coaching team and business plan, which had them breaking even in year one, has been rejected by New Zealand Rugby. Sir Brian Williams, speaking to the Herald from his 70th birthday celebration, said the last few days have hurt, not just because the proposal was rejected, but because he and others feel it was never properly or fairly assessed. Having campaigned for Pacifica's inclusion in Super Rugby since the formation of the competition, when he was head coach of Manu Samoa, Williams has made it clear he would consider anything and everything to achieve his goal, and that may include rescoping the bid to shift the team from their proposed base in South Auckland to Western Sydney and play in the Australian Super Rugby competition. How disappointing would that be?
That's just so dumb. I mean, for a start, who exactly has said no?
New Zealand Rugby.
So why? Well, okay, so we know the history of them. They want money. I mean, okay, do you want fans at the game? Look at the Tongan Rugby League side.
Yep.
Okay, and the amount of people that bought in, and the amount of interest that created around rugby league. Can you imagine doing something similar for rugby and putting it in and then playing every week? You've got a natural fan base in Auckland. I mean, you do. You got people that will just turn up and they will be making noise. They'll take flags. They'll take all their family. They'll probably buy 12 bottles of chips and a dozen beer. You know, they are the people that they should be appealing to.
Yeah.
So I cannot understand why New Zealand Rugby would just shoot it in the butt, especially when it's got luminaries such as Michael Jones and BG behind it. I mean, it's just I don't know.
The only thing I can think of is that New Zealand Rugby is scared of the franchises losing all those great Pacifica players that are currently in the Super Rugby teams.
So then do something like a draft or do something where you can control that. Say each team has to give away 2 Pacific Island players and they nominate the player. You know, there's ways of doing that.
Of course there is.
Fear is not a way to run your organization. You can't be scared of it. You're already failing. You know, I don't know, mate. That's just really, really disappointing. I mean, moving an island team to Australia, come on, man. We're the hub of, the islands in the Pacific. No, it's just really, really sad. And goes almost against what they were saying,
exactly
what they've done the whole way through. They wanted to expand it. They wanted to send it to more places, but they're more interested in a Hawke's Bay Chinese consortium and a Hawaiian. Come on, man. Let's just make it more simple. It's not rocket appliances.
Not rocket surgery.
It's not rocket surgery. Exactly, mate.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
If we were in charge.
Anyway, go the All Blacks. I've got my Sky Stadium membership now, so I'm all set to go.
Beautiful. Are you going with your lovely wife?
Absolutely. Yep.
Beautiful.
We'll be there. So, that's
fantastic.
It for this week on that rugby bombshell. Hopefully, the powers that be that can come together and get it sorted properly before something stupid happens.
I'll send them a link to this podcast, mate, so they can listen to some common sense for a change. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good afternoon.